Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, hundreds of thousands of Pakistanis have fled their homes in North Waziristan as their government takes on the Taliban. They're refugees in their own country. So what can be done to help? So we're talking about a very remote part of Pakistan. Malika Bilal is our digital producer of the stream. Interested to hear what our community is saying about this very remote part of Pakistan.
Right, it is remote. And so I would say most people in Pakistan are aware of the military operation that's happening there.
Sure.
There are some online who are telling us people aren't as aware of what life is like for people in North Waziristan. So Kushul tweets in, IDPs are from Waziristan, which has mostly been inaccessible for decades, referring to internally displaced people. He says there is a lack of an understanding of how the people there have lived, given their circumstances. We'll discuss that during today's show. We can't do it without you. Tweet us with the hashtag AJStream.
Now with us on our set, we have Kiran Nashis, and Kiran is a journalist with the New York Times. She's been following the story. Kiran, it's great to have you here.
It's lovely being here.
And we will hear a lot more from you in just a moment. Now, Twitter isn't the only option for you to get into today's conversation. You can also write to us via Google+. So you visit the link below and then you end up on Google+. And it's really easy. You're joined by nearly 1 million followers there. And you can actually put in your ideas, suggest ideas, and be part of this conversation right now. But before we get started, here's some of the hashtags that you're already following. More than 875,000 Pakistanis, mostly women and children, have been displaced as their government takes on Taliban fighters in North Waziristan. They fled their homes when a military operation called Zabay-e-Insaf, meaning sharp strike, was launched in the northwestern part of the country, with some people actually walking for hours in the heat to find safety. Most of those internally displaced people, or IDPs, have sought refuge in the nearby town of Banu. They're registering with authorities to receive government aid packages consisting of food and a cash allowance. Now, there's no time frame on when they can return home. So today what we're looking at is how an entire displaced community is doing and what else can be done to help them. To discuss this, we're also joined by Fawzia Kasuri. She's an advisory member of Pakistan's Movement for Justice Party, or PTI, led by Imran Khan. Omar Zaman is a member of the Responsible Citizens NGO in Pakistan. And on the telephone, we have Manawa Shah, who, along with his wife and children, has been displaced from North Waziristan. So it's great to have you all here. I'm actually going to go straight to the telephone and to Manawa. Manawa, can you take us back to that day when you decided you had to abandon your home and leave with your wife and your family? What happened?
Actually, the government announced suddenly for launching an operation in North Waziristan agency. It was very strange for us because more than 5 lakh people were inside Waziristan, and the army covered all the area. We were there in Waziristan and the operation started, so it was very tough days for us because there were very less products for eating, I mean meal and other things to eat, because there was curfew was imposed. No one was allowed to enter to Waziristan and or to come out of Waziristan. So after 5 days of the starting of the operation, government gave us a time for 3 days to shifted and migrated to Banu from Waziristan. So it was a time for us after spending 5 days inside Waziristan in operation. I can't explain it in my words. What problems our families and me personally seen in Waziristan, it was our bad experience.
Manawa, I'm trying to get a picture of what happened. You've got a big family and you had to move your family from one place to another place. How did you do that?
Actually, we have a very huge family. When we were coming out of our homes, there were no transport facilities. There were no vehicles to come out. but then we started to go by our own feet.
So you walked,
after covering 5 kilometers, we got a vehicle. We call it Datsun.
Okay.
We can. Yes, I am hearing you.
Yeah, and how many kids do you have? I think people will be amazed when you tell how many children you actually had to move to safety.
Sorry?
How many children do you have?
Around about 13 we have children.
Okay.
We have 30 children, 9 female and 12, 13 male. We are there in our family. And we are making around about 29 and 30 family members.
Right.
We were in 3 vans and 3 vehicles, and we spent 2 days, I mean 44 hours in covering 45 kilometer distance because of the screening of the army, because of the checkpost of the army. And we spent 2 nights on the way, on the road. Our females and our children were sleeping on the road.
Omar, I mean, you're working with the IDPs right now in Banu. Is Manawa's story, how unusual is that story?
I think that would be a fairly common story because the family size generally in the area is fairly large. And as Munawar was also mentioning, it was a fairly sudden operation. Like, this operation was called pretty suddenly. And so a lot of these large families, they had a big influx into Banu, which is the closest town to where Munawar is based. And that's where they started, by they I mean the army started registering the IDPs. So, I mean, the entire infrastructure in Banu, whether it's the hospitals or the water system or even the security apparatus, that was severely tested due to this sudden influx of, like you were mentioning erstwhile, about 8.5 lakh people.
Well, Fawzia, we've heard the harrowing story really of what it took to get there. Now online, I want to share with you a couple of tweets from people who are hearing this and sending their thoughts. So Muhammad says, everyone is against the so-called Islamists who have fled from the region, but the IDPs are the ones facing problems now. Another person writes in, the civilians are the ones that have been killed in this army operation, not the terrorists. So people are pointing fingers at a flawed operation, they say. How were civilians warned of this operation? Were they warned? Fawzia.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. You see, what happened is that the political party that I belong to, this Movement for Justice, our party has always advocated dialogue. We've always felt that a military operation is not a solution to this problem, and that, you know, there was a need to hold peace dialogues and bring them on the table. Those who believed in the Constitution of Pakistan, alienate them from the terrorists. And the idea was, because we always had an idea that this is what is going to happen. Now, this is a huge challenge. It's a huge humanitarian crisis, and I can really understand what Manavar is feeling. I live in Islamabad, but I'm back in Banu, back and forth twice a week. I'm dealing with the women and the children there specifically, and I can see their misery. And let me just tell you, though, very briefly, going into the history of all this, the North Waziristan and South Waziristan are the tribal areas of Pakistan bordering with Afghanistan. Now, although they don't have a provincial status and they come under the federal administration of the government, but they're fairly independent people. Their language, their culture, their traditions, you know, they're a proud people. They're not the kind of folks that you would give handouts to and they would be satisfied. And in any case, it's a traumatic experience having to abandon your homes and leave with your family. I mean, Manavar is lucky that he had 2 vehicles. I heard him say that they were on the road for 2 days in vehicles. There are people who were on foot for like 15 days. I have met these women. There are elderly and children who have died on the way. And we always knew that there was going to be this sort of a disaster if there was a military operation. And I think that it was the responsibility of the federal government to at least have taken the stakeholders on board, to take the provincial government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is the province where Banu is, to have taken them on board.
So Fawzia, how much did you actually, Fawzia, how much did you actually know? How much warning did you get? Because as a provincial government, then you have to actually look after the IDPs. So you've got to be involved in the process at some stage. What did you know?
No, darling, there was no warning at all.
No warning.
There was no warning at all. In fact, the Chief Minister of the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Imran Khan and all of us, we just watched it on television. It was breaking news, and that's when we found out that the operation had actually started.
All right, so no warning, but now you have to deal with the IDPs. Yeah. Take a breath for a moment, Fawzia, and let me just go to Kiran. What do you want to add?
Hi. So yeah, I wanted to ask. Like, there was a curfew that was introduced. There was a curfew before the IDPs were removed from the area, and they were told to leave the area. So there was some amount of time that the provincial government had to prepare. And yes, I mean, there are, like, you know, the IDPs are in a really bad condition right now, but they're only according to the FDMA and UNHCR.
The FDMA
is basically a government organization that sort of looks after administratively, and they say that around 48 to 50. It is a federal organization, but it looks after. They say that they're between 48 to 50 families that are there, whereas like the IDPs, the numbers are now reaching up to 1 million. So what is the provincial government doing about those IDPs who are not in the camps? And that the fact that you've been going to the camps, what have you guys been able to do so far? What is your plan? Practical plans, step-by-step plans into helping these situations in the camps.
Sure. May I respond?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So first of all, you know, for the record, the people of North Waziristan, the tribal areas, they come under federal administration. So it is the federal disaster management authority that is responsible, and the federal government is responsible for looking after them. But it's not about their responsibility, because they're in the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I feel that it is our responsibility, and it is the responsibility of the provincial government as well, now that they're there. Now, the government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is a very cash-strapped province, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They were not prepared for this. They were not taken on board. They didn't know. And the magnitude of this crisis, I mean, it's huge. We're talking about, you yourself mentioned in your intro, that there's now about 800,000 people there, about 8 million. And 2/3 of them are children and women there. Okay, so now what is the federal government, the provincial government doing? On their part, and I'm part of the political party, but we have the provincial government, we have the political party, which is PTI, and then we have
I'm going to move you along a little faster here, because I've got Manawa on the phone. Fawzia, excuse me for just jumping here. I've got Manawa on the phone, who's been displaced. He's got a big family. He doesn't really want to know who is in charge of this and who's in charge of this. He actually needs some help, right?
Both of them. This is not an issue that this is the government responsibility or provincial government responsibility. We Waziristani people, the IDP peoples, are thinking that why we are not treated as a Pakistani. This is not the thing, the issue that this is a provincial assembly, this is a federal assembly, we comes under this category, this is FDMA. No, we think that why our problems are not according to our own norms and values. If there was only one solution to solve the problem, this is operation. Why the government is allowed army to enter to the agency for holding and launching the operation? There were a lot of other methodologies and other processes using the solution of the terrorism can be finished. The terrorism can be terrorists can be eliminated, can be abolished by other ways, like they can use our elders, they can use it politically, but they didn't give us time for finishing this terrorism.
Okay, Manawa, take a breath for a moment, just because our community also want to be part of this conversation. I hear what you're saying, that we have to get beyond politics and then maybe actually help people down on the ground right now. That's what I want to get back to.
Right, well, there's just one line actually that Manawa said is, why are we not treated as Pakistanis? This is echoed online. Takalla says, tragically, IDPs are seen as a peripheral issue by the federal government. So I want to move this on to actually what is happening now on the ground. And Omar, there's a video comment comment here about conditions in this camp. This is from a journalist. Have a look, listen to this, and let me know your thoughts, because I know you were recently there.
This is at a very rocky terrain, and most of the people I spoke to said that they had been not given any beds or any mattresses, and they had to sleep on the floor with just a mat, and it was really painful. I actually did sit at one of this spot where one of the IDPs forced me to sit, and I could not sit there for more than 5 minutes.
So he couldn't sit there for more than 5 minutes, Omar, but IDPs are expected to sleep there. What did you see?
I'd like to respond to the earlier tweets and then this video message you've shown also, and also add to Manawa and Fauzia's comments. I mean, going back to what Fauzia was saying and what Manawa was talking about, who authorized the operation, and that's exactly what a civilian right now like myself would also be asking, because the rumor has it that even the Interior Ministry, part of the federal government itself, was not informed about the operation, and the operation came to them as a surprise. And as far as the IDPs are concerned, there are two segments. There's displaced peoples that have now reached Banu, and then there are people who have gone or fled to Afghanistan, the border on the other side. And we actually, because of the media shutdown that the armies kind of enforced, there are no foreign agencies or foreign kind of NGOs working in the area. They're not allowed, as well as media. So we don't really know about the picture on the ground. We don't know how many people have fled, or who was there, or what the current situation is, and how many civilians, or we always hear about suspected militants being killed. But there's no way to actually verify the numbers or the figures.
But Omar, you spent a full day in the Banu camp. What did you see?
Mostly what I saw was there are no camps. It's one wouldn't when you talk about an IDP situation, what immediately comes to mind is a lot of tents and people living in those tents. But what happened was when the IDPs came into Banu, they actually spread out and they started living with their relatives. As Munawar was mentioning, in our culture, and especially in the tribal Waziri culture, they're very conservative, so they don't like the women staying in tents. So all of them preferred going to stay with relatives. And the only time that you would see IDPs out lined up would be to collect food rations. So actually there was no one place where you could go to see IDPs other than the lineups once a week or twice a week to get the food rations.
Sure. Omar, let me just share with our audience what this actually looks like. So I've got here a picture from dawn.com, and here you can see the gentlemen here, all gentlemen lining up to pick up their rations. Kieran, what did you want to add?
I just wanted to, since Omar has been there on the ground, I think he can give some insight into like one of the major problems, like any independent organization that wants to help in rehabilitating this disaster is not allowed to work on the ground. So they're, the only organizations that are working over there as relief organizations are in some way associated to militant groups, including banned militant groups. So what was Umar?
Do you know that for sure?
Of course, yes. Okay. There have been actually, the video that you just showed was Taha Siddiqui, he's a journalist. He did a report on this as well for CS Monitor. So it's been reported as well. But of course, like if you speak to anyone who's working on the ground or is on the ground or is in Banu, one question is like, why is there no access? What is going on inside? Why is the government not giving any access in the area?
Let me just check in with Fauzia. Fauzia, can you help us understand this a little better? Why would there be a limited number of NGOs and even journalists?
Yeah, please, I'd like to pitch in. It's not the government who has to give out the no objection certificates. It's actually the army, and there is a great security concern there because it is a war affected area at the moment. It's a war zone. So obviously, because they don't have security, they're not encouraging different NGOs to come in, and it's got nothing to do with the government. And I would like to say that the main problems right now, first of all, Omar already pointed it out. There are no people living in camps. The government and the army both did set up camps. I'm talking about the federal government. But people didn't want to be in those camps. So they have moved in with relatives, with friends. They're renting places there. So they're all in homes and they're all spread all over Banu. And they've also gone to other parts of the province, but 70% of the IDPs are concentrated in Banu because it's the closest point from where they're traveling from.
So Fawzia, let me
what
just,
I wanted to tell you was the main
let me just ask you this, because I found this on your website, on your Facebook site, and it said announcement for donations and what you need right now: kitchen utensils, children's vitamins, sanitary napkins, towels, hand fans, toys, water coolers and boards. Let's concentrate on what people need right now. What would you say it is, and how are you trying to help them?
Absolutely, that's what they need, and we are taking truckloads of goods. People are very generous from all over the country. There's an outpouring of love, affection, goods, materials for them. But I also want you to know that the government itself, the provincial government, they're trying to spruce up the hospitals. There are loads of volunteer doctors who are coming from different parts of the province and Pakistan to help there. They've mobilized all their mobile health units have now been sent to the areas where there are IDPs. So medicine is free now, not just for the IDPs, but for all people in Banu. Medical facilities are being provided.
Okay, so Fawzia, let me just check in with Manawa, because it's important that you as a member of the ruling party hear from people who are IDPs. So Manawa, let's just go back to you. Are you hearing that there's progress in the way that IDPs are being provided for right now, bearing in mind that the reason they're out of their homes is because of a government operation? Are you happy?
No, I am not happy. I am totally dissatisfied. What Fawzia is saying about the health facility in Banu, there are 2 hospitals of health facilities, and there are more than 7 lakh people who migrated from Mirali to Banu. This is totally insufficient. Our own children are losing their health, and we haven't a chance to take it to the government hospital, and we are taking them in private clinic.
Okay, so let's take this opportunity. It's not often that you actually speak directly to somebody who has influence. That somebody is Fawzia. Hold on 1 minute, Karen, because Manawa is right there. He's more important than we're sitting here in the studio. All right, so Manawa, what's on your list of things that you need right now?
Sorry, but
what is on your list? What do you need right now?
Where I am right now?
No, what do you need? What is on your wish list?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
We're going to come back to you in our post show. Malika, what's our community saying about the conversation they're hearing?
Well, there's some skepticism. Tuba on Facebook writes, the IDPs have been robbed of their houses, their villages, and their dignity. And this is the 5th operation in this area of the sort. An outcome will be nothing but humanitarian crisis. So hopes aren't as high as they could be for the outcome of this.
One of the things I always say, Kieran, when we do a show like this, people are sitting there going, we want to help. You said that, and you were reporting on this story. What are you doing?
I think so. I think I would like to bring in a few things that I've been hearing from people on the ground.
But the aid help that's helping internationally, because we have 1 minute, so let's use that 1 minute.
International aid, and then one thing that I wanted to say is that the medical facility, for example, Munawar just brought this in. It is true that the medical facilities that are also available are not. These people are not trained. So medical.
And if people watching this and they want to help, what would you tell them?
I think first we need to have permission for independent NGOs to be able to have access over there. Okay. So that people who want to help can help independently.
Okay, that's Kiran Najis. She's a New York Times journalist. We also have Fawzia Kasuri, Omar Zaman, and Manawa Shah. They will come to us and coming with us to our post show at stream.aljazeera.com. If you have a question for them, it's not too late to ask them. #AJStream. Let me just tell you about our next program on Monday. Migrants from Central America are making the very dangerous journey to the United States southern border. We'll look at the immigration crisis that President Obama has called an urgent humanitarian situation. Until then, see you online. Thanks for watching. Hello, this is the Stream's online post show. We've been talking about conditions for internally displaced Pakistanis who fled their homes because of an anti-Taliban military operation in North Waziristan. I want to get right back to that conversation. Time goes very fast in this show, as you realise, Kiran.
Yes,
what did you want to add?
Oh, well, I just wanted to add that, okay, well, we are having this operation. People are homeless now. Pakistan becomes the most homeless country in the world.
Undetecting politics. This is what I was concerned about in this conversation, was how much was about politics and how little was about IDPs. Am I getting what's really happening on the ground?
Whenever we talk to anyone who's the government or anyone, it becomes about politics. I think we should need to forget about all of that and focus on what can be done for the IDPs. Right. And then there are 48 families or around 50 families in the camps. There are other families that are living with their relatives because the condition of the camps is so bad that they don't want to live in these camps. But what can be done to sort of
sense of, because we showed some video from the camps. What is so bad about the camps that people don't want to live in them?
I think the
not
camps
that anyone would choose to live in them.
It's a really in terms of temperature, it's a hot time, summer, Ramadan. And
I think other than, sorry, I'd just like to jump in here.
Yes, Omar.
As far as living in the camps is concerned, one of the main reasons is that it's a conservative culture, the tribal culture of the Waziris, and they don't appreciate or they don't like the women staying, or like the idea of women staying in tents and outside in the open, because they're, like I mentioned, they're conservative. So one of the main reasons why they've shifted to their relatives is because of that fact.
This is one of the reasons, but a lot of sources are also telling that it is because of the conditions of the camps as well. And then that raises, whatever the reason is, it does raise the question: is what is the timeline? When will these IDPs will be sent back to their homes, and when they go back, will it be destroyed the way in FATA we've had these operations before, and we know that in Jalozai camp we've had IDPs coming from Tira and Momand and all these places for the past 4 or 5 years. They were not able to go back to their homes for 4.5
Kiran,
years.
as I'm watching this as an international viewer, can you explain to me what you just said? What the significance of that?
Significant in terms of, I think
you mentioned camps that we hadn't mentioned in the show.
So we have an experience with another camp, which is the Jalozai camp, which was basically one of the oldest and the largest camps in Pakistan, which was initially used for the Afghan refugees. But when the operation against the Taliban started in Swat and then other places of FATA, the IDPs started coming in Jalozai camps.
Okay.
And so this is one of the biggest camps in the country before recently. Okay. And with that experience, we know that for year after year, there were promises to IDPs that you will be going back to your countries, to your regions in FATA.
And they're still not back home
But
yet.
they were not back home, and their homes were also bombed and destroyed. So one of the reasons they could not go back was because they did not have their homes. Okay. Is this going to happen? I mean, what is the planning in this situation now that we have, a 5-year experience from Jalozai?
And as we don't have anyone from the government who's involved in the operation, that's a very hard question to ask, but I understand why you're interested in that. Malika.
Well, I want to pick up on what you asked. What is the plan? Manawa, we have people here on Twitter. They're asking about schooling and what's the plan for children. So have a listen to this tweet. Sharaf Gun says private schools should welcome these children to attend classes until they have a school to return to. I know schools will be opening in about a month. What will your children be doing? Manawa.
Actually, yes, I'm hearing you. We are confused what we should to do because we don't know when the operation will end. I want like to say something about the camp you people were discussing. I want to give you people chance. This is not our tradition that we are not coming into tents and camps. The area in which the system has provided from the government side is not for living, because this is mountainous area and many insects, snakes, etc. can cut you and you can lose your life. And also the temperature of Miransha is always less than 40 degrees, and it's very suitable for us. But the temperature of Banu and Banu is always more than 40 degrees centigrade. And if you talk about the camps, the temperature of the camp is always more than 45 or 44. There is very hot, season. We can't suffer it in this month of Ramadan.
Okay.
I want to share one thing with you people. I can't say many things in this 30 minutes time. I can say only that we IDPs, we Waziristani people are thinking that we are living in our own country. We are living in a Muslim country, but we are not treated as a Pakistani. We are not treated as a Muslim, because they didn't care the month of Ramadan. They do know well, the government know well about our tradition, about our religious sector. Our females, our elders are not, tolerate that condition they have provided us in Banu.
Okay.
Each and everything the government is provided us is not only insufficient, they are of very the quality of the ration and other thing is totally this is not of good quality. We are in a trouble here in Banu. The distribution point in Banu is very less, and more than 7 lakh people are there in Banu, because for ration distribution people are coming from Peshawar, from Dia Khan, from Lucky to the complex. So this is not sufficient. This is insufficient, and we Waziristani, we IDPs are thinking that Pakistani government, whether it is provincial, whether it is federal, are treating us, sorry to say the word, that like animals. One thing I want to discuss is that Imran Khan, we appreciate him, but he is launching a long march for 14 August just for the sake of 4 members. But we are losing our life. We are losing our life for 28
Manawa, take a
people
breath
of
for a
one
moment,
family.
because I'm almost at the end of the program. Manawa, just take a breath for a moment.
Has died, but no politician is coming.
All right, so Manawa, just take a breath for a moment, because I'm just going to share the conversation just a little bit. I really appreciate hearing your point of view, because you're really at the heart of this story. I did ask really about the IDPs. It's amazing how political this conversation gets immediately. Even the reason why the IDPs are in the situation they are is all about politics. But in terms of the work that you're doing, what do IDPs need? What would you say?
I think at the government level, the IDPs need NOCs immediately for the army to arrange international agencies to be able to come in and to be able to provide items that IDPs require, which are non-food items essentially, because the food items are like wheat and rice and sugar are provided for.
We don't need ration. This is not our problem. Our problem is why people are not allowed to understand why peace
Manawa,
and
hold on a minute, because it's a
not,
conversation, so different people have different points of view. So sit tight, because Omar listened to you. Omar is working with different people, so their needs may be different. So Manawa, just give him a chance to speak, because he allowed you to speak. He may be in a totally different situation from where you are. So Omar, please continue.
Yeah, I completely understand Manawar's frustration, and what I observed that what's required over there. First of all, it's in the medical sector. Other than better equipped hospitals with more doctors, it requires certain medicines, especially like drips, medicines for rehydration, because a lot of children are suffering from stomach diseases because of lack of clean drinking water. Right. So drinking water is required. They require more nurseries and basically because a lot of women are going into labor during the camp. So overall better health facilities.
Okay.
And other than that, as far as the food items are concerned, as Munawar was mentioning, food items are taken care of. But there's certain food items like either water or let's say dry powder milk for babies that are more
Omar, I'm not convinced that everybody listening to here is going to be writing down that entire list, but at least we get a sense of where the needs are right now. Malika, our conversation is going to end with the community. Where are they taking us?
Well, we're talking about the needs and what should be done. There is a suggestion on Facebook. Vajiha says, within Pakistan, there's not enough publicity given to this issue. So what's needed is a media blitz on the subject for donations. And another member of our community sent this where your donations could go. This is a GoFundMe campaign. There's several of them like this online and on Facebook, and we'll tweet them out.
All right. Thank you very much, all our guests, for being part of this conversation. To Kiran, to Fauzia, to Omar, and to Manawa, we really appreciate your time today. So, what will we be doing on Monday? Well, migrants, tens of thousands of them from Central America, are making a very dangerous journey to the United States border. And we'll look at the immigration crisis that President Obama has actually called an urgent humanitarian situation. We'll be doing that on Monday. See you there.